I was born in 1957 to Larry and Audrey Olencott. I'm 62 years old now. There was 8 of us children. There was Marlene, then Dwayne, and I was the third. Carl and Della were twins. Julie, Ted, and Shirley. Shirley was 10 years younger, and Marlene was 2 years older than me, so that pretty tight group family in age. Julie was 4 years old when she passed away from unknown causes. And I imagine today's world they might know, but we didn't at that time. Our family was raised in the house actually that my dad had been raised in. So it was an older house. It had plenty of room for us. The girls all shared a great big bedroom upstairs. Dwayne and I and Ted shared 2 bedrooms downstairs. It was the house that was originally built from the homestead and then added on when my dad was a child, and then we continued to live in it. It was being older like that. The foundation was set up on rocks, and so it was just kind of on a hillside. Had a dirt cellar on the lower end of it, and we all kind of remember a tree growing out from underneath the house at an angle, and it was worked out fine. It was became the shade tree that we sat under that shaded the house from being too warm in the summer. And we had a flat spot or two for a front yard, but and then lots of hills to play off of or fall down on or whatever. When we were growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. It was always interesting. We were just all very happy, and we never really realized that we didn't have money. You lived in your own life, in your own world, and it was great. It wasn't until we were older that we actually dawned on us that we would be in the poverty probably status as they go by now. It was an interesting situation, really. As a child, growing up on the farm, Dwayne and Marlene they were together closer a little bit, but they hung out, and the twins were very close together, and so I was kind of being in the middle. I always felt like anyway that I kind of did my own thing. I love being out on the farm. Being raised with 200 acres to roam in, that's exactly what I did. I'd walk around, travel around, love being outside, being part of the farm. When Dad would be out doing farm work, I was always not necessarily helping when I was younger, but I kind of would just be out running around. And one of the sounds that I probably, because I love spring so much, was the sound of a meadowlark. And out on the section of the ground that we had called the flat, meadowlarks, you could always hear them out there for some reason. And so even to this day now, then I realize that when I hear a meadowlark, I know spring is here. It's kind of a time that I love being a part of that. When I was younger, I just knew I was going to be a farmer. That's what I saw, that's what I knew. And of course, things change as you get older, and I realized it'd be very challenging to try to make a living on a small farm. You would have to do something else, and so as life changed, I just eventually evolved, and that went away. However, what a gift I got of being able to have some of the farmland to be able to live on and still have my space. I graduated in 1975, and then from there went off to college for a semester. Ended up going the fall semester. My dad hurt his back, and so I ended up doing the farming that fall and finished the harvest and then put in the crops. Spring came around, living in Lewiston, I just needed to be outside. I realized that, and it worked out good. That's all the money I had saved up for college anyway, so I went and started working. I started with Subert excavators when I was 21 years old, and then in 1984 I started Camas Prairie Mini Storage in Cottonwood with just a few small buildings. I could do that while I was still working away from home. I had somebody doing my books for me, so that worked out well. And then I'd do all the repairs or whatever I needed to do on weekends. And for a short while in my life, I had Curb Creations, which is a lawn curbing business. I did it out of Lewiston, and then actually ran it out of Boise for a while. And then I continued. I left Subert Excavators shortly after Denise and I were married, and I did a lot of different odd jobs, some good, some bad. I got into underground utility work for several different companies, and worked there for almost about 15 years in that style of work. And then I went to work for the city of Cottonwood, where I decided I needed to be home with my family. Working construction, you just never can promise your kids you'll be home at a specific time or that, and that was something that was very important to me. I wanted to say, I will be there, I'll do this, and I wanted those opportunities. So my background of doing a lot of different things, it was a good fit, and has been, should be till my retirement. So I married Denise Kuther in 1988. I had known her from many years prior, when she was in grade school. Her sister was a classmate of mine, Dar, and she just was kind of always around and always knew her. And as she got older, then I'd always had my eye on her, and I'm not sure she felt the same way, but I did. So we got to go on our first date right after she graduated from high school. She went off to college and then got different jobs working away from home. When she moved back to Spokane, I was working in Spokane, and so we got a chance to start dating again, and then very short relationship before we got married. We knew each other very well. We had dated actually off and on when she was in college, and so we were very good friends from the start, and it was a good start for us from the get-go. One of the things I remember mostly about Denise from the time that I always knew her was the bubbly, happy girl with the big smile and the cute dimples, and her being around with her sister, some things just stick with you. So that was one of the reasons I think I always kept watching her. And when I had the opportunity to start dating, it was like, I just knew she was the right one. As a matter of fact, I even had a dream, a very vivid dream, that she was going to come back into my life, and it all just kind of fell into place. And I knew that that giggle, that smile, that cheerfulness that I had always enjoyed watching now was going to be a part of my life. And anyway, that's one of my blessings. So one of the things that stick in my mind that I remember so much about, that really sealed the deal, I guess, for me for Denise, was my dad had Parkinson's, and in his stages he had some good days and bad days, and I brought Denise home to meet Mom and Dad, and I was excited for them to know. They kind of knew of her but didn't really know her, so we visited quite a while. And then the next opportunity I got to talk with just Mom and Dad, and I asked Dad, I said, Dad, what did you think of Denise? And he said, I like Denise. And I said, well, good. He said, no, I like Denise. And I said, well, good, Dad. I'm glad. That means a lot. And he finally could get it out. He says, I like Denise because you aren't trying to change her. You like her because that's how she is. He said, you have a habit of trying to change people. He said, but you like Denise. Anyway, so that was kind of one of the things that really stuck with me. I knew Dad saw something. And he was right. Anyway, so in 1990, we moved into a new double-wide home, and it's the same year. Kaylee was born that fall. After Kaylee was born, lots of black hair and dark skin and just this little thing that couldn't talk, but I could spend hours just holding her, and time would go by so fast. Kaylee was kind of an independent little girl as she grew up. Got to spend an awful lot of time, learn a lot of things. She was our trial kid, I guess, like every oldest one, I think. And then Kyle came along 3 years later. And so then we had our boy and our girl. Kyle was born with no hair and chubby-faced little kid that I had grown so accustomed to my little girl that I actually had a little time adjusting to having a little boy around. After a little while, of course, Kyle became a very important part of our life. He had this infectious giggle laugh when he was a child that heartwarming, and we all couldn't help but be drawn into him as well. Oh no, oh no, oh no!
Dad, a minute.
Just a minute. It always amazed me how you could have two of your own children and they could be natured so differently in personalities and yet very much alike. And then 4 years after Kyle was born, Kristen came along, and she was different, and she had blonde curly hair, and so now Kaylee became the one that take care of Kristen, help out. Kyle became the one that just wanted to play with her, and Kristen was the baby that we all just would go around and I still would do the same thing, just hold and spend as much time, and the other two would circle around.
What? Okay. What? Okay. What? Okay. What? Okay. What? Okay.
Yeah, it was a great gift. I worked in the job I was working. I had Fridays off, so I got to spend the time. I got to take kids to preschool. On Fridays, I got to be home with them that much all by myself, and we made bologna sandwiches and played a lot of games, and we roughhoused and played a lot, wrestled around, all of us. That was what I did with the nephews and nieces, but it was a whole lot better with my own. One of the challenging times in my life started actually when I was in high school, trying to find my place, trying to find what I liked, what I didn't like. It was confusing, as it is for so many young people. And as I got a little older, let's say up through graduation, I just kind of dealt with it. It was odd. My ups and my downs. If I had an up, I had a down, and I didn't understand that. And it eventually led to a lot of, how do I put it, kind of a dark place. It would take me to a very dark place, and I dealt with it. It kept growing stronger and stronger as I was in my early 20s. And I think I always thought I would be married young and have a family, and here I was in my later 20s, and I still wasn't, and I was battling this quite strongly. But anyway, I remember being at home, came home from construction, working night shift. We'd work about midnight, and then we drove home through the night. And I got home, brought my suitcase and everything in, and for the weekend, and I was sitting in this chair, and it was summertime, and I just sat there for quite some time, and then all of a sudden it started getting daylight, and then all of a sudden I could hear the birds chirping, and I heard the meadowlarks, and I made it. I'm alone and I'm okay. Yeah. From that time on, I realized I now know I can do it on my own. Many people don't get that opportunity to come out of it, and I was. So that was a great gift to understand, to be able to find my worth and get myself back on top where I needed to be to have the beautiful life that I've been blessed with now. One of the things I would like to leave behind, mostly for anybody, is that everybody has a dark side. Everybody has made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody feels alone. Everybody feels so many things. And going through my depression time, I realize I can empathize, I can sympathize, but I realize that mentally things are so much different for everybody. Everybody's in a place. But the one thing I think we can all do is realize that we're forgiven. Forgive ourselves. People do forgive. Everybody should forgive. And Jesus forgives us for all our things we do. And every day is a new day. We have an opportunity to make things great, make this world, I think we're put on this world to make this world a better place. That's what we should all do. And I believe in some of my favorite sayings is have fun and share your smiles.